This is the Sharp by Design Tempest, a beautiful bowie folder from Brian Nadeau, made by Reate knives, and man, it's a knockout. This is a loaner to me, loaned to me by Hero Sticks. Thank you, Hero. I appreciate your exposing me to this. I mean, I've been drooling from afar at people's pictures of this knife, but this is another one that I missed, and another one that slipped through my fingers, but what a gorgeous knife. All right, let's just look at it overall. It's got what I call a double-peaked bowie. Now, this is kind of not much of a peak, that's more of a swale, and there's that peak. But when I refer to, I have a design thing that I love, and it's sort of this, born out of this, that double-peaked bowie. This is the famous SOG bowie, first designed for special forces, sort of pre-Vietnam War and early Vietnam War. This is one made by SOG, the Mac V SOG style. But that double peak thing I've always loved, and I have it on a bunch of knives, and I've been talking about it a lot lately on the podcast and in various videos, because I've been getting those K-Max ROM knives. He does that a lot, and my Hinderer Bowie and other knives. Anyway, this falls right exactly into my taste category. I just wish it were smaller. That way I could say, it's really great knife, but I don't need to get that one because it's small. But this M390 blade is 3.5 inches long, so it is at the bottom end of my wheelhouse. Look at this gorgeous grind. What an absolutely beautiful bowie shape you have here. That fuller, I love the way fullers terminate at the end of a swedge. I love how that looks. There are several other knives I've been noticing that on recently too. So it's got this really nice hand rub. I mean, it looks hand rubbed. I don't know, is that hand rubbed? But this vertical satin, or horizontal satin. There's Brian Nadeau's Maker's Mark. I did 2 podcasts with Brian Nadeau, or a podcast and a town hall. Very interesting guy, living and working out of his home in New Jersey. He had to retrofit his home to fit his mills at one point. But the company he trusts to reproduce his models is Reate, and I think that's a good, very good choice, because they just killed this. It has incredible action. First of all, just the design of the front flipper is really, really, really good and intuitive, and it works equally well with my forefinger or my thumb. A lot of that has to do, for me personally, with this width. It's a slender knife in that dimension, so that makes it easier to open it in several different ways for me. Ow, see, that's what I do sometimes though, when I do that, when I try and get fancy with the forefinger thing. Here, let me get rid of that so I don't sully his knife. All right, yeah, it's sharp. The tip is quite sharp. Okay, so where was I? Oh, and not only is the design for the front flipper really great, but the action feels great, and it feels different, and it sounds different, and it is different because of how he how Brian Nadeau designs his detents. Hang on, let me get an appropriate pointer here. I think this will fit. It's kind of small. So I'm going to point out, instead of a detent ball, Brian Nadeau uses a Detent Tab. So this raised piece of metal you see that I'm pointing to at the tip of this blade here is there in lieu of a detent ball, a round ball. It's a tab that fits into a slot, and it does the same thing that a detent ball does, and a hole. Oh, let me get something to do. All right. It does the same thing as the ball in the hole. It's just a tab and a slot, and it really, man, it gives it a crisp action, and it returns. The way it returns feels good. just a really, really awesome action, and that is an innovation. I love innovations. I love innovators and knife innovators, and Brian Nadeau is, in more ways than one, an innovator. His other way is he's a sculptor with a CNC. He does incredible sculpting in blades and in handles, in both these hard steels and in titanium. And he is an artist. He is a wonderful knife craftsman. Let's see here. All right. This should do. This is my alcohol rag, so hopefully it cleans it. All right, so in there, inlaid seamlessly. I mean, you cannot feel it. It's so nicely done here. This is gold antimatter. I'm sorry, gold dark matter fat carbon inlaid there, and it's beautiful, and it feels nice. And this titanium is so nicely chamfered and rounded and contoured, and it's just a very nice handle to hold on to, I gotta say. And I like the cylinder. Looks like a revolver. I don't know if it's not really meant to, I don't think, but I like the design of the pivot. It's a bolster lock, which I love. Bolster locks allow me to open knives slowly, which I like, without worrying about that detent, without worrying about that lock bar. And they allow me to flip better and not have to worry so much about my thumb placement, my hand placement, and my pressing in on the lock bar, that kind of thing. That's what I love about bolster locks. Plus, they look kind of nice. It's kind of nice to hide the works a little bit. Very nicely sculpted titanium pocket clip. It's got a sort of brushed look that I like. It's also nice to have, with this inlay, to have the cutouts covered, especially considering they're external cutouts and they're right under the clip. So that would be ugly. Otherwise, I like this channel being rounded like that. Let's look at how the blade fits in there. Perfectly centered, perfectly so close to hitting, but of course not hitting. Just beautiful construction from Reate knives. Even on the inside, it's smooth and softened. Very, very nice. Thank you, Hero Sticks, for loaning me this really sweet knife. I'm gonna show it off with a couple of other knives. Whenever I show a Reate knife that someone has loaned me, I show it with the other Reate knives I have, which are only two. The K2, an in-house design. I love this thing. So super, like, different feel in this than this. This feels more solid. I mean, this is extremely solid, but something about this little, the compactness of this design makes it feel super solid. A little bit more like this. This is the antimatter from Arcane Design and Something Obscene Company, but a real super solid build, and you're going to see a little bit of that same anodizing. Looks very similar. Well, same people made these knives. And then a couple of other EDCs that are sort of in the same, I don't know, same realm to me. Here it is with a Vero Engineering Synapse. And here it is with a Rockwall from Tactile Knife. This is smaller. I guess it's a little big knife, because in my mind when I pulled this out of my cabinet, I mean, it's definitely a luxury knife, but it is much smaller. I wasn't thinking it would be that much smaller. But a luxury knife, this one made right here in the States. So, man, I love this thing. They have, I'm going to be talking with them again soon. They have some exciting new project coming up, and I can't wait to hear about it. It sounds a little bit different and a little bit exciting. And then let me show this to you with the Sabenza. One of my absolute favorite luxury knives, an old classic, an old standby, the Sabenza. And this knife has a very different action, obviously, than this. But the thing about this knife here is it's not 100% just drop shutty. it has a nice, smooth return to sender, but not guillotine like the Towser K, which you have to kind of rush yourself out of the way. This just has a nice, oh yeah. All right, and it has a great tip, which I showed you, I illustrated to you with my own blood. So here it is. The Sharp by Design Tempest, a beautiful Reate-made folding front flipping bowie, brought to you by Sharp by Design, Brian Nadeau, and the good folks at Reate. All right, thanks for watching. Oh, and Hero Sticks, who loaned this to me. Hero, thank you so much for getting all these really sweet knives in my hands. I appreciate it. All right, take care.